Hello and welcome. My name is Lance and the name of the show is Painting the Cape. I'm going to show you my portable studio, a box that it opens up and I hook it right to my belt. I have some S hooks and hook that there and the other one here, and that way the box doesn't slide off my lap like that. Now I'm all set. Open this up and you can see my palette there. Of course, I always bring my sack here so I can put all my trash right in the sack. I'll hook it to this side here. I just lose my clamps here. You clamp it on something, because when we're painting outside, we got to be careful of the wind not taking things down the road. Okay, so let's see. The next thing is I have my panel. I'm using a 16 by 20 Luan plywood to paint on. And before I do anything, I always put on my gloves because paint is nasty. So I put a little powder on my hands. So my gloves slip on easily. There we go, and that way cleanup is easy and I don't get my fingers all messed up with different paint. The next thing is I take a couple clamps and slide this panel up to the height that I want it and just clamp it on each side like that. And over here, and then I put my palette knives here. And I've got a little container. It's like turpentine, but it's called Turpenoid. It's an odorless turpentine for so I can thin the paint or take off parts. I've got this vest that's got big pockets, and that is so great to have big pockets because you can put a lot of stuff in them. I try to figure it out so I can have the whole thing in just one little small studio. Okay, I'm going to get my brushes out here. Actually, I can wait on the brushes because I start off on the other side. I have my Kleenex box, and I've got it fixed. I put a hole in my pocket so I can just slide it out and I'll have it, and then I can wipe it off. Now, I usually start a painting with some kind of paint to make the drawing. I use some kind of paint that's transparent. And in this case, I'm going to use sap green to make the drawing. I usually use sap green or burnt sienna. So then I take and I do a lot of the painting just with my finger. And what's nice about that, you see how that is not very thick at all, it's very transparent. And the first thing I put down is the horizon line. So I know where the horizon is. And then I work everything from that. Like, for example, I'm going to do what's nice about using your finger is that it's close to the surface. The further you're away, you make just a slight movement, and it makes a directional change or wiggles. This you feel solid because I'm pushing up against it, and I can make the curvature of the water. And then let's see. I'm going to have a little breaker right here, like that, and maybe a rock here, let's say. And there we go. So that's the drawing, and now from there, I usually start with the sky first. And on the sky, I go up and down this way. On the land, I go horizontal. So I'm going vertical this way. And this is, believe it or not, a gray. It looks like it's blue, but it's actually black, gray, and white react as if they're blue. And then partly across, I change to something lighter. And if I need to thin it out a little bit, I just stick my finger in the solvent and make it work that way. Like that. And what's nice about this, it's dirty, you just throw it away, get a clean one, so you're always working clean. Now this time of day is going to be close to sunset, so I'm going to put a little bit of purple in here, just to give it a little bit of, nice feeling. Now let's see. Now I'm going to do the next thing down, which is this, the land over here. And to make that land, I'm going to mix. It's good for mixing too, as you can see. I can just swirl it around. And the palette that I'm on is made out of glass. So it's easy to clean. And you can move really fast with just your finger. And And I don't know, I'm convinced that these painters a long time ago that didn't have fancy brushes and stuff, they just used their fingers or a rag, and then when they got to the places that were a little bit more detailed, then they would bring out their brushes and stuff. Now, if this is in the way, I just move it and fill it up and stick it back on there, like that. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of putting a tree here, a tree there, and trying to make it interesting so it kind of reads. But you can see you can move really fast and get something down. Now I'm going to put some rocks here. So I just kind of get a general shape of the rocks. Just put some irregular shaped rocks in there. And when I'm painting, I'm kind of always aware which way the light is coming from. Good thing about oil is, let's say I do a passage and I don't like it, I can just wipe it out and do it again until I get it the way I want. And usually what I do is I have two lights, like this is light and this one's light. So one light is a little bit lighter than the other. And I have two darks, and one dark is a little bit darker than the other. Now I'm going to use a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of alizarin crimson, and I always try to, if it's far away, I put a little bit of gray, the same value in there, to kind of make it go back. The further things are back, the grayer they are. They get brighter as they come forward. So now I'm just putting in where this goes. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to feel the shape of this form reflected in the water, like that. And there's a couple other seawalls. There's the one that's a little bit further away. And one a little closer to you. So the further things are away, there's more color of what it's closest to, which is the distance, which would be more blue. And this would have more color to it. So I try to get the big shapes in first. And now I'm going to do the green. It's kind of a greenish water. And I just, to make this green, I used turquoise gray, and again, this is the dark part. So I have two greens. Oh, I'm going to have to do this side too. Two greens. One's darker than the other, but they're both on the dark side. I get my place back so I can put my clamp back up there. There. I'll tell you, I'm loving this, the way this works. I cut a hole in my coat, and so when I pull the Kleenex out, it just pulls right out. You got to find something that's got big pockets. It makes it so much easier. And so let's say that's the dark green, and this is a dark green too, but it has a little bit of more color in it. It's not as much, it's not as grayed out. See now, that's getting messy. Throw it away, don't worry about it. Get this in there. So the sky is going like this, and the earth and the water is going horizontal. You know what? I'm going to have another seawall right there to kind of break that foreground up. You go to a scene, a place on the Cape, and you look out there and see what's out there. But then you kind of take what you like and leave what you don't alone. So this is another seawall, so I'm going to make some dark shapes as if they're rocks going out. And I'm using burnt sienna and raw umber to make the different shapes of the rocks. And I try to vary the strokes. The strokes should kind of go in the direction that the shape is going in. Okay. Now here's a place and point. Well, let me finish putting some more stuff in here. when in doubt, use gray. The main thing is to have the gray in the same value that you want to go for. The old saying is, the value does all the work, and the color gets all the credit, which is really true. But if you don't have the value right, nothing else works. So now here we go. I take some terp in my rag, and I want this to be lighter, so I just take it away like that. Move it a little bit on the rag, which is just a Kleenex. If you're working on a rougher surface, you can use just a paper towel. So that's going to be the distant horizon. And I'm going to have that kind of come down like this. See how you can just wipe it away? Get lots of terp on there and wipe it once. Don't keep going back and forth over it because you'll just make a mess. That light is coming towards us. So I prime my panel with not the lightest value that I'm going to use or color, but someplace close. But I want to leave a little bit left so I can add light to it or add darkness to it. So that gives me room to do that. Now I'm going to do the beach, the sand here. And first I just kind of just block it in with a general color. Like that. And you see, here we are doing, I don't know, at least 50% of the painting is done with just a rag. And then we go in with brushes and make more texture and everything else. Now right here, I'm going to have to put a reflection of this, so I'm going to make it a little bit darker. And just kind of, if there's a bump here, put a bump down below in the opposite, it's a mirror image, like that. And then also take a little bit of that and stick it in the rocks so it helps the transition, like that. Now also I'm going to put a little rock here. If you want the rock over there, you can put the rock there, wherever you like. And in general, as things get closer to you, they get darker and brighter. So first I just make a shape of a rock. And at first I just kind of figure out the silhouette of the rock and put some reflection things in the water here. Like that. Now this has got water around it, so can mix some of that other color and stick it in there like that around those rocks. See, at first you don't worry about a perfect line. I mean, the line is going the right direction in the right angle, but I mean, you don't draw it so tight at first that you have no place to go. If you do a broad stroke, then I can make that stroke thinner and cut around it, and so it leaves me room to mess with. I'm doing just a little lighter so I can see the reflection here better, where this comes into play. Now I'm going to go back and stick in the horizon. That's where the sun is just starting to go down, so I'm going to make this nice and light over here. And here's something that I might have to use on my brush to make it tighter. But I can always make it tighter after I get it down on there, like that. And as that comes forward, let's see. What's something in between here? So it's like two separate seawalls. And I'm having the light come towards me here. The thing of it is, you try something, let's say it doesn't work. You take it off and then you try something else. And you keep doing that until you get what you like, and then you lock it in. But at first, it's just kind of loose and make it happen. So, once again, I have two of the same color. One's a little bit darker than the other. And then I come in and make that a little bit lighter. In fact, that's something I'm going to have to do with a brush because that's getting a little bit too weird. So, now right next to the shore, there's kind of a apron of color. That wraps around like that. Now, before I started to paint, what I did was I mixed up 4 grays, 2 darks and 2 lights. The 2 darks, one's a little bit darker than the other, and the grays, the 2 grays, 2 darks and 2 lights. The 2 darks are pretty close together, and the 2 lights are far away from these colors, but they're close together. So 2 lights and 2 darks, like that. And once again, if you're not sure what the color is, make it gray. Now the light is starting to change a little bit, so I'm going to make this. So the light's going to be hitting the top of these things like that. As light goes away, light kind of works like a rainbow. It goes from, let's say it goes from yellow to orange to red to purple to blue to green, and then starts all over again. And so you know what's going to happen with the light. It's just a matter of, and when there's too big of a jump between, let's say you're doing complementary colors, which is the opposite, like red and green, and it's too much of a jump, then it comes to neutral, which is gray, and then goes to the complementary color. And the other thing that works is colors that are close together, like blue and purple, or brown is a dull color of red. This is where the light's kind of hitting the shore. It's kind of a pinkish light like we have on the Cape here. So it goes water, and then it goes a place where the water came up and back, the high tide, and then when the light starts hitting the sand. And in this case, since we're close to sunset, it gets kind of a pinkish color. And the bottom line is, so now I'm going to have to go to brush because this is, but look how far you can go with just your finger or just a rag. Now I'm going to get my brushes out. And everybody has their favorite brush. Some people, myself, I use flats, but some people like filbert, which is a round tip. I like them square so I can carve in. I find that painting is very close to sculpting, because when I'm painting, I'm following the shape of things. Like this is going to follow this shape here. And it's getting closer to the light, so it has to get a little brighter, like this. So if you feel like putting a little cloud in or some change in the sky, just do it, because after you get to a certain place, you just want the painting to work, which means you might have to make some things darker, some things lighter. Like if I want to make this light darker, behind it, I make it a little bit darker. So if you want things light, you paint around them or behind them darker. If you want something light, you paint something dark around it. If you want something dark, you put something light behind it. The other thing I use is my palette knives. So I use a rag, brushes, and a palette knives. And on the palette knife, I can mix the color, get it the right value and the right color and the right intensity, how bright or dull it is. And then I get some on that side of the blade, and then I go like this. So I have a bead of paint. And then I take the other one and just kind of pull it off. So I have that. Then I can place it down here and make the water the way I like it. So the waves, the further away they get, the further away they are from you, the closer the waves are together. As you get closer to you, they get bigger. Or what I mean is they get more distance between this and the next one. So it's a perspective thing. So this is coming in like that. And the same thing, I just wipe these off. Palette knife is great too because you clean it right away. You go like that, boom, and it's clean. Where brushes are a little more challenging. Gray is a great color because if you put gray next to orange, it makes the gray look like it's bluer. If you put gray next to red, it makes the gray look greener, which is, the complementary colors. Anyway, I keep going back and forth on the brushes, the rag, or the palette knife, because they each have their own little special effects that are nice, and so you kind of go with it. Now, let's say on my brush, I've got white, and I don't want white now. What I want is something dark. I don't have to clean that up crazy. Just squish out all the paint that you can. Get the dark color that you want, squish it in there completely, and then wipe it off as much as you can. And now you're ready to do the color that you want. Now it can be dark. And the same thing in reverse. If you want to go from dark to light, you put your paint in some lighter color. Now this is going to be, see, I want that to be brighter, lighter, so I'm making this seawall here darker. I got a little bit of light in there, so I don't want that. So I just wipe it off and bring it out. I can do the shadow side of the rocks too with this color. And also the reflection. Like that. Now if I want to darken a green, purple and green will make a dark gray. So you have to favor either the green or the purple, figuring out, do I want to go purple or do I want to go green? And what I'm trying to do always, the game is to go dark next to light and light next to dark. Sometimes you can scrub in some trees or some bushes. And it's important to desaturate your colors. Like colors right out of the tube, they don't work because it's too much of a change. So you want to gray them out, put the complementary color with it. Now right here at the edge of the land, I want to bring that out a little bit. So what I do, either I change brush or I make this brush work. I put a little light in there. make it a little bit lighter than what it is, what the land is, and just do the top and come in sometimes, so as if the light is hitting like that, and that gives it as if the light's hitting there. Now we have to, I gotta make this a little bit darker. It's kind of, you want to make it, you want strong contrast. If the contrast is not strong enough, it's weak. So if everything is the same value, it just makes everything look weak. And there's warm and cool colors. This is a cool red. It's got more blue in it. Or a warm red would have more yellow in it. So it either goes towards yellow or it goes towards blue. Like that. Down here, it's just, this has to be darker, a darker shadow. There's the shade side, and then there's the cast shadow. And the cast shadow is always darker than the shadow side. That's the shadow side, and this is the cast shadow. So the cast shadow has to be a little darker, like that. And once again, what I'm doing is I'm making the brush go in the direction of the form. This has to be a little bit darker here. So that's a little bit more holding power. Try to mirror the dark parts with the dark parts. And this over here, scrub that, shape it that way. And it's coming off of this a little bit. That. Now, all we have to do now is put direction of the wave. So it starts off pretty wide apart, like this band and this band are pretty far apart. And as they get closer, as they get further away, they get closer and closer together. Like that. And if you got to make, you want to go from light to dark, so you always keep in mind where the sun is. What part do you want to light up? If you want to light it up, then make around it dark again. We're almost there. Now I'm going to make around this dark some little waves and stuff. And right at the beach where it comes in, what I'm doing is I'm squishing the brush down on one side so the other side lifts up and puts an edge down. So So it's like a wave lapping. Do the same thing over here. Like that. Now I got to make these rocks stick out a little bit better. So I'm going to put, you don't want to really use black except to make gray, because things get really kind of uninteresting real fast. Okay, and then, of course, the last thing you do is stick your name on it. You got to kind of figure out how you want you to sign your name or to mark your name. And you always want to keep it not too big, you know. Yeah. Well, here's one way of marking your name. I can just take this is a rubber on here, like a rubber eraser, but just rubber, doesn't erase anything. But what it'll do is it'll take off enough paint to get down to the color of the board, and you can easily write your name like writing with a pencil. But again, you don't want to make them too big. Just enough to get credit for doing the painting. I'm wiping it off each time on my rag so it pulls through and makes a mark. And there you have it. Okay, I hope you got something out of this, and keep painting. Just keep painting and everything's going to be okay. Thank you for coming. Bye.